Hey mamas, welcome to another episode of Confessions of a Small Biz Mama. My name is Kristen Ingram. I am a small biz mama running two businesses with a preschooler. Oh, it's so scary to say preschooler. With a preschooler and my husband, and we're all at home living this crazy small biz life. And I'm so excited that you are here with me today. So today I want to talk about a notebook that's going to help you sleep better at night. And no, it's not a particular notebook or a fancy notebook. It's just the concept of having a notebook next to your nightstand. And you're thinking like, how is that going to make me feel better? How is that going to make me sleep better? Bear with me. We're going to do a little mind dump at the end of the day. Okay. So I don't know if you're like me, but you probably have a lot going on up in your mind. You're probably thinking of a lot of things. You're trying to keep track of a lot of things, and your brain is just constantly going. Just me? I don't think so. I think a lot of women have that problem. And so one thing that has really, really helped me settle my brain at night is to have a notebook or a journal next to my bed. And as part of my wind down routine every night, I actually use that notebook to write down a couple different things. And I want to talk about those types of things that I write down. They fall into three categories. There are things I need to brain dump, things that I'm grateful for, and things that I like about myself. So first, I like to kind of brain dump. And so what that means, is there anything in my brain that's kind of rumbling around that keeps popping up, that might be causing some stress or anxiety, or maybe it's just something that my brain like wants me to remember? I will write down all of that stuff. Sometimes that even means like, I write down like a couple sentences about like my day, something important that I might want to remember going forward. Like today, Eric and I went to the park and it was fun. And he was playing with little kids and he was helping this little girl go up and down the stairs. And it was funny because at first I was worried that like he was being too rough with the little kids. And the mom was like, oh no, he's a perfect gentleman. He's helping her up and down the stairs and he's being so cute. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. Yay. So maybe tonight I'll write down a little bit about that. Any unfinished things that might be rattling around, I'll write that down as well. And then I always write down 3 things I'm grateful for. I just think that gratitude is such an important thing. It gives you a lot of perspective. People who practice gratitude experience less anxiety, less stress. It's good for your blood pressure because it reminds you that even when things, aren't great, we always have things to be grateful for. And they don't have to be crazy. Sometimes I'm grateful for coffee. It doesn't have to be like insane crazy. I think a lot of people think that, in order for them to be grateful, it has to be grateful for really big, like life-changing things. I feel the opposite. I think when you're grateful for the little things, it just makes life so much better. And so every day I write down 3 things I'm grateful for. Like I said, and sometimes it's a struggle. If you've had a really stressful day, today I was grateful we got my car fixed, and this is like the first time I've driven it, and it rides better. So it's grateful that my 10-year-old car is still going. I love that car. I really do. I love my car. But I was like super grateful for that. I'm grateful for where we live. I'm grateful that today was payday. It doesn't have to be big things. but it's such an important practice. It really is. And then the last one that I do, okay, so I do a brain dump, then I do gratitude. And if you've got more than 3, write down more than 3, let it go, but at least try to write down 3. Okay. And then my last one, and this was so hard when I started doing it. But I actually got this from Corinne Crabtree from losing 100 pounds with Corinne. She also runs the No BS weight loss program. And she would have us write down 3 things that we like about ourselves. And this was so hard when I first started doing it, because I don't know why, but as women, we just don't like ourselves very much, right? We make ourselves the enemy all the time. And so I made this a practice to do this every day. And it like sometimes I sometimes like, okay, so, I like my fingernails today. I like my tan. I like my blue eyes. Sometimes like, I like my strength. I like the fact that I'm willing to write down 3 things I like about myself every day. But it's interesting, because the longer I did it, the easier it was to find things I like about myself. And I found that my confidence increased tremendously. And I know, like, those of you who have been listening to the podcast, or you're in bookkeeper training school, you see me kind of come out in the group, and I've got lots of energy, and, but I think we all struggle with confidence at times. But I think this practice really helps. Honestly, it's one of the things that it was so hard when I first started it. But it's something that, like, I really persevered with, and I'm really like, no, I'm going to do this. And it just makes you feel better about yourself. It makes you realize that, that you are, there are things to love about you. You are a lovable person, even when you're not feeling it. And it's good for your soul. So the gratitude and the 3 things you like about yourself. And I've given this advice to, like, a lot of people inside bookkeeper training school. I've mentioned this on calls we've had before. And I really think that it is critically important. And sometimes, if you're one of those people, you kind of like wake up in the middle of the night because something woke you up, have a little light, and whatever you're thinking about, write that down in your little notebook next to your bed. Because it'll make it so much easier for you to go back to sleep when you clear out your mind again. Okay. And so that little notebook can really help you sleep better at night. So I'd love to know, if you're doing this, how is it working for you? If you give this a shot, okay, try it for a week, and then let me know how it goes, because I'll tell you, it is just something that I really believe can really turn things around for you. Not only for your sleep, but it's good for your mental health. So let me know what you think. Go to smallbizmama.com, click on episode 80, and tell us what you think of this practice. I'd love to know. All right, mamas, thank you so much for all your ratings and reviews wherever you're listening to the podcast. It really helps our show. If you haven't done so yet, can you take a second wherever you're listening? Just rate the show real quick. If you want to write a review, that's awesome too. But it helps the health of our show. It helps people find us, and it's really appreciated. All right, mamas, as always, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.
Thank you for listening to Small Biz Mama with Kristen Ingram. If you'd like to learn how to create more margin in your life, please visit us at smallbizmama.com. That's smallbizmama.com.